The dollar CAD could have quite a ways to go here before it tops out, and it all comes down to the high time frames. That's what we're talking about in today's video. We're also going to take a look at the DXY. I'll show you the latest there because I know a lot of people are getting bearish on the US dollar, but I'm going to show you why that could be a mistake. So looking at the dollar CAD USDCAD, we can see that ever since 2015, going back basically a decade, this market has been moving within this equidistant channel, okay, also just a sideways range. Now, recently, it did put in a 2-year consolidation through here, and this is what we talked about at length in the VIP group through here on the break above 1.387. So the consecutive weekly closes above this area through here, I was telling VIP members to expect an aggressive rally toward 1.4265 and also 1.467, and that's exactly what we've gotten, at least, the first target up here toward 1.4265. And by the way, guys, if you want to join us in VIP, check out the link in the description of this video for 85% off. Or if you're on the website, click on the Join VIP link for 85% off lifetime access. So looking at dollar CAD, we know that the market has been in this range here for the past decade. We also know that these two highs back here, one in 2016, one in 2020, this was the COVID high. The market hasn't quite gotten up there just yet. Now, there's no guarantee that we do see the dollar CAD come up here and test this level. However, given the fact that this is what we've seen from this market for the past decade, if it didn't test this, it would be the first time since 2015 that we have not seen a retest of either support down here or resistance up here. In other words, if the market were to come down here over the coming months and years and just test the bottom of this channel, this would be the first time that we didn't get a retest up here. And look, things can happen, right? And there are no guarantees in the markets. But when you look at this pattern right here, I tend to believe that we are likely to see a retest of 1.467 or thereabouts before we get a top for the dollar CAD. Now, notice I said likely. Again, it's not guaranteed. Nothing ever is in the markets. So we know that there's an opportunity here for higher for the dollar CAD, approximately 300 pips or so. Now, if we look at the daily, this is where you have to have a trigger for your trades, okay? You can't just look at this and say, all right, I'm just going to blindly buy the market and hope to see it come up here and test the top of this range. You have to have a trigger for your entries. In other words, you have to have something that tells you that the bottom is likely in, because so far this week, we are seeing a pretty aggressive pullback here from the dollar CAD. And in fact, guys, and this is why VIP really pays off, because last week what I was talking about was the fact that we had this range that had built up here for the dollar CAD. So if you look at the 4-hour time frame, what I was telling VIP members that I would love to see is something like this. When the market was trading up here, I said I wanted to see a sweep of these lows this week and then a reclaim of this range for the push up here toward the top of that range, sometime over the coming weeks, right? And so far we've gotten, this part here. We saw the market sweep these lows. Okay, so we've seen this part. Now what we need here is a reclaim of the bottom of this range. You can see where we did get a 4-hour candle yesterday closing back within this range. However, the market wasn't able to close the day back inside of this. So what we need here is, if you look at the 8-hour time frame, so far the 8 hours holding below this area. Okay, so what we need to see is at least an 8-hour close above, but preferably a daily close back within this range. Okay, we need to see the market reclaim this recent range to give us that trigger for the move back here toward range highs around 1.445 and potentially the move up there toward that decade-long range around 1.467. And so far, we have not seen that. Okay, so far, this is serving as resistance right now. So we do not have a trigger yet for this trade. So far, there's potential here. Okay, it's a trade idea, but we don't yet have confirmation of one. So again, you can see here on the daily, the market did close just below this low right back here. Yesterday's close, I kind of thought that the market might close back up here in this area in the final hour or two. But it didn't quite make it there. And so far, the market's just kind of hanging around these lows, right? So you need something definitive here to show you that this market has reclaimed this following the sweep below those lows. And this is a textbook pattern, guys. A lot of times in markets, not just forex, but especially crypto too. Bitcoin loves to do this, where you get the market ranging like this, going sideways, and you get liquidity that builds up below these lows. You get the sweep of those lows, the reclaim, and then that right there is your trigger for the push higher. So this would be textbook if this plays out. Again, that we don't yet have confirmation of a reclaim of this range to turn aggressively bullish on the dollar CAD. Now, with that said, okay, full disclosure, I am long here. And I'm about break even at the moment. My stop loss is, well below yesterday's low. So I've got some room to play with here. If we see the market come up here and give us confirmation of a reclaim of this range, like I've mentioned, if we see something up here on the daily, then I will add to that position because right now it is a partial position since I was waiting for the market to really close the day back inside of this area. And the reason I'm talking about this today, guys, is you can see here from this area where the market's trading right now, if you measure out the distance from current levels up there toward those decade long range highs, you've got over 300 pips. So even if you're waiting for the dollar CAD to close a day back up here, okay, technically, up here at the high or thereabouts, right, somewhere up here, even if you're waiting for that, it may look like you're missing out on some of this move. But the thing you have to remember is that even if you wait for that, so even measuring from up here, right, if you were to get long from here, you've still got 300 pips or thereabouts toward those decade long range highs. So there's really no rush here, in my opinion. It's better to be safe than sorry when you're trading. And so you can see here where the market is just kind of battling these recent lows, right? So this right here, if we look at this, I'll tell you the exact level right here, around 1.435 is really what it has to reclaim on the high time frames. Do that, and I do think we're likely to see the dollar CAD move up there toward 1.445, and also those decade-long range highs around 1.467. Now, on the flip side, if this market were to lose this area right around 1.4265, the reason this is significant, if you go to the weekly time frame, what you'll notice is that this range back here in 2020, the range low of this back here became resistance over the course of 2 years. So this is the range I'm referring to. And you can see where the range lows back here flip to resistance throughout this entire period. And if you'll notice, the range highs over here are so far going to be support. Okay, so this right here is your invalidation, 1.4265. As long as the dollar CAD is holding above that area on the high time frames, then I like the idea of a move, up here toward 1.467. Okay, so that's the invalidation in my opinion, right around 1.4265. And as I've mentioned, if the dollar CAD can reclaim this area around 1.435 convincingly today, either today, tomorrow, sometime this week, then we do have that catalyst, that technical catalyst for the move up here toward these range highs around 1.445 and then that range high around 1.467. Now, keep in mind too that we do have some significant event risk coming up here later this week for both the US dollar and also Canadian dollar. So you can see here on the calendar, there's not a ton this week. However, there is a lot of significant event risk for the USD. You've got ADP, employment change coming up. We just had services PMI for the US and also PMI out of Canada. That all played out relatively well there for the dollar CAD. But you've got events coming up like FOMC meeting minutes for the US. You've got employment figures for Canada and also non-farm payroll out of the US. So there's a lot of event risk coming up, guys, that is going to influence this pair. So just keep that in mind as well. And let's just wrap up here with the DXY, the US dollar index, because this is obviously going to be the forefront for anyone trading the dollar CAD. And what I've said recently in these videos, and if you saw the videos in December, guys, I mean, what we talked about, in fact, all last year, following the reclaim down here around 102.60, okay, my long-term target was up here between 109 and 110. The reason for that was this red candle back here. You can see this low. This was an imbalance here for the DXY. And that's exactly where we've seen the market start to top out. Now, what I've said recently, though, is that so far we do not have confirmation of a top. Okay. And this is where traders get themselves in trouble because they see a drop like this on the daily, like yesterday's, and they think, okay, this right here is the top, right? We're going to close back here within this, and the market's just going to do this, right? And this may be the top. I could be wrong here. However, at the same time, as long as the market is holding above this pocket down here, there is no confirmation of a top because you still have the market making higher highs and higher lows. This is nothing more than a pullback right now. And furthermore, like I've said recently too, if you strip away all of these other levels, because I get that it can look a little bit confusing, but if we go to another chart here with the DXY, all right, what you're going to notice is that, yes, this right back here, 109.50 was the imbalance that we saw right back here, right? But at the same time, you could also make the case that the DXY may want to test the top of this channel. And the reason for that, like I mentioned recently in videos, is you can see that the breakdown back here, once the market reclaimed that through here, right around 102.60, this is where we were getting bullish on the DXY. And a lot of times when you see a failed breakdown like this to one side of a pattern, okay, you tend to get a move to the opposite end of that pattern. And so far, that's kind of what we've seen here. I mean, the DXY is is getting increasingly close to the top of that channel right around 110.50. So I still think that we could see this market come up here and tag this area before the DXY tops out. And another reason for this too is if you look back here and you're talking horizontal levels, you can see that this area right through here, this is kind of a pivot through this area where you can see this high right back here. You've got this low, you've got this congestion through here. So there is a case to be made, guys, for a move up here toward that 110.50 area before the DXY tops out. And if we get that, then that could quite easily put pairs like the dollar CAD up there around 1.467. All right, guys, so I hope this has helped. I mean, the opportunity is there. You just have to wait for that trigger for this setup to confirm. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. Don't forget to join us in VIP. Claim your 85% off lifetime access. See the link in the description of this video, or if you're on the website, click on that Join VIP link. I will see you on the inside. Trade well out there, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.